host Locke, and this is the podcast where we drink, smoke, and bullshit about the life of a historic criminal. Now we're talking outlaws and gangsters. We're not going to cover too many serial killers. That's just a little bit dark for me, and this ain't no true crime podcast. Honestly, you can't call this a history podcast because I'm no historian. I'm just a history fan that does some research and bullshits about it with his friends. So speaking of my friends, let me introduce you to my co-host. First with us today, we got Damien back.
What up, though?
And then also with us, we got Dan.
Hey, what's happening?
Before we get into our beers, Dan, who's like officially becoming like my backup whiskey guy, brought us a drink to share. You want to tell us what you got here?
Well, the reason why I always bring some whiskeys is because you got a better palate than me, so you're sort of my guinea pig. Like, I run it back to you, like, man, what do you think, Locke? So, today I brought some beer barrel bourbon. It's from New Holland, which is a brewery here in Michigan that I just found out makes a lot of liquor. They make rum, gin, like a bunch of shit. And this is basically, it's bourbon that they put in beer barrels.
It's ironic because we spend so much time drinking beers that are put into bourbon barrels that I think it's fair that, rotate it.
But yeah, that's New Holland here in Michigan, which we already proclaimed on the show has like the stouts down.
Yeah, they got the Poet.
Yep, and the Dragon's Milk.
Oh yeah,
which
Dragon's
is their
Milk.
strong. That's like the 11.9, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a high one.
Yeah.
That's why it's only in a 4-pack, because that's all you need.
That one's good. It's right up there with the KPS with me.
Oh yeah, definitely. What'd you think of it?
It's definitely light, which I'm surprised because it's actually got a pretty good color to it, but it's got kind of a blonde flavor to it to me. It's definitely light. It's nice. It's really nice for a hot day like this. If you're going to do a whiskey, I'd definitely say go ahead and do something like this one.
Yeah, it's not a very overwhelming sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's
not a strong
40%, by the way, or 80 proof.
But beer-wise, what'd you bring to drink for your beer today?
Well, I didn't know that Damien would be here again, but he was going to get a shout-out anyways, because I believe the last time we were here, well, you can't just drink that in front of me and act like I'm not going to mention that you're drinking out of a horn.
Yeah, to quote Ragnar's last words, tonight we shall drink ale from curved horns.
All right, well, we're going to get back to that in a second, but now the last time we were here, he mentioned some blueberry lemonade shandy, because I drank a blueberry maple stout, and this is from Sagatuck Brewing, the same one that made the maple stout, and it is good as hell. Some blueberry lemonade shandy. It's a perfect little summertime beer.
Well, and it finally hit the 80s this week, so it's about shandy time too.
Yeah, it definitely got hot and thick real fast. I'll end up going with a short screw, sticky, icky. First time for this one for me. It's nice. It's light. It's definitely time to put the heavy beers up. It's sundress season. You got to go with the light beers.
It's ironic that I brought this one because Damien brought it up last time we were here, and then he brought a beer that made its debut like way back in the beginning of the show. Like that was one of the first beers that I brought.
Nice.
You guys got beer
weird.
synergy.
Yep.
I knew there was an automatic connection on the last show.
Drink
Knew there was.
serendipity. You're on the D&D show now, baby.
Okay. It's that military fucking synergy, man.
There you go.
Did we just become best friends?
Do we need Locke?
Hell no.
He does the heavy lifting, so I guess
Hang out with your horn locker. What's going on with you, Damien? What's up?
At some point, somebody's going to have to read these facts, okay?
Yeah.
Look, you guys might pick out good beers and have all kinds of jokes, but who's going to do this fucking research?
The man with the horn, that's him.
Yeah, so my son actually got me this curved horn, and it was a Christmas present that he bought me and forgot about, and he actually came to bring it to me like, I don't know, I forgot to give you, I don't know if you like it, and it's like one of my favorite things I've ever been given.
Nice.
I haven't stopped drinking out of it since he gave it to me.
How do you set that thing down?
I have a base.
Oh, all
that it
right,
goes
has
into.
a special stand. All right. Put horn back in docking station.
Well, and if I'm outside, I got this little collar that it goes on where you can hang it around your neck. And
So you have a horse feeder?
Yes, I do.
You have an alcoholic horse feeder.
I wouldn't even want the stand. I'd have the fucking collar on all the time.
To sit here with a quart of beer around my
I
neck.
get the gut to move just right. I ain't even got to lean my head back. I just tilt the beer right in with a breath.
Man, I would just throw a crazy straw in the mix. I don't even have to look down.
There
I'm
you
just
go.
sipping all day out that motherfucker.
Out of my horn, I'm drinking Coonhead Brewing Company. White Devil. It's an imperial white ale. It's pretty good. It's 9%. But yeah, it's good. It's apparently a German brewery right in Detroit that's knocking out 9% beers and shit.
Nice. But see, we got to get back to that horn for a quick second because I've got to know where he got that, because that is the perfect barbecue accessory. You know, you got a spatula in one hand, you got the fork in the other hand. With that, you tie that around your neck. You're golden. You don't have to have that third hand to hold the beer, and you don't got your beer sitting on the grill getting hot. That is nice, man. Hey, that's real classy right there.
What's funny is, so it's like my favorite thing ever, and I don't stop using it. And I was telling my wife how much I fucking love it and how excited I am. And she said, that's funny because when he bought it for you, I said, why the fuck would you get him that?
It's like she doesn't know you at all.
Right? Because it's the dopest thing ever.
You know, that sounds like a little shade being thrown, man. Like, you know what? That's actually a great Father's Day gift.
Like,
how are you hitting home runs with that? Where's my Mother's Day gift to match that?
That's my baby boy. Get off my shit, bitch.
So before we get started, we got to make sure we take the time to thank Sixpo Sueno for letting us use his music in the intro. We also got to thank Cancer for letting us use his music in the mid-roll. We got away from saying it, but I always mean it, so support local artists. We did used to say it all the time when we stopped, so yeah, support local artists.
It sort of moved its way into just the breweries, because we usually all do local ones. Where's Shorts Brew from? That's a local one.
It's a local one too. It's from Elk Rapids, Michigan.
All right, so yeah, we are all Michigan ones. Actually, we're quadruple Michigan because of the New Holland, the whiskey. Yeah, but back to the artists. Yeah, support them as well.
Support local artists. See, even when we go back to support local artists, like, yeah, let's water that down a little bit.
No, but you know what? That's some real shit to say, because I actually own 2 pieces of art from Detroit artists. I actually went to school with and that is something that you really need to do, because like I also try to do things in wherever I live, whether it was Lincoln Park, Rouge, Southwest Detroit. It's real important to support your neighborhood, because that's part of your tax base, that's part of your living space, man. You got to do it. You got to.
And you know, not that it's art, but we're creating content here, and we appreciate the support. You know what I mean? So it always goes a long way. And those are both people that put some hard work into something and let us use it when there was nothing in it for us. So I was recently looking at the number we just had last week, our biggest week in downloads ever. And I checked it at one point when we were new. We had a week where we had 36 downloads.
Okay.
So to go from 36 downloads in a week to thousands of downloads in a week, and
that's amazing, man. And that's really cool.
Yeah. And like I said, but when we were at 36 downloads a week, they were still like, yeah, you can use it. I don't care. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's love being shown right back right there.
So we appreciate the support. So, you know, put it back out there into the world.
For sure.
So we'll go ahead and get started. And the bad guy we're covering today is John Willis.
This ain't negotiation time. This is Scarface, final scene, fucking bazookas under each arm. Say hello to my little friend.
Oh, Jay Willie?
So we got John Willis, a.k.a. Bac Guai, a.k.a. White Ghost, a.k.a. White Devil John. This is
why you have a white ale. Yeah. We're with the White Devil John, so you have White Devil beer.
That is why I picked it out. I was standing in front of the beer cooler, and I seen White Devil Imperial Ale, and I knew we were covering today. I said, oh yeah, I'm getting that, because I'm actually drinking half-hearted the rest of the day. But I just wanted to have that one up front to talk about.
Look, I had a cool thing just to start out with.
So kind of to sum up the Bac Guai, a.k.a., this will be the last episode of our Chinatown Crimelords series.
Okay.
But, you know, when you look at the climate, you know, the current climate of the world today, I figured what's a more fitting way to wrap up, you know, the Chinatown Crimelords and Asian Polynesian month
than with the white guy.
Yeah, with a little cultural appropriation, you know what I mean? That's the American way to do it.
This is Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. Matt Damon in The Great Wall. Pick other white guy in an Asian film. The only one to get away with it is Kurt Russell. You ain't taking him down.
Shit, John Wayne. John Wayne Genghis Khan, man.
Did he get away with it, though?
Right? Everybody on that movie set got cancer and died. I think it kind of worked itself out.
I think John Wayne kicked cancer's ass, didn't he?
I don't know. He might have.
I think he did.
He was the only guy on that set that fucking won and shit. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, though, look into that. Whatever there was the movie, I don't know the name of the movie, but John Wayne played Genghis Khan in it, and they filmed it in the desert. They got it real cheap to use as a set because it was the desert where they did the atomic bomb testing.
Nice. Yeah, you go play over there. Well, we'll charge you $50 a day.
And don't mind us. We're just going to be taking notes over here. Oddly enough, after filming a movie in the site of an atomic explosion, most of the people that were there got cancer.
Yeah, radioactivity is a motherfucker.
Well, it's all karma for having John Wayne play fucking Genghis Khan. So.
Yeah, I've never heard of Yellowface.
Or
I've heard
Genghis
of Blackface and Brownface, but John Wayne as Genghis Khan, that's wild.
John Willis was born May 11th, 1971 in Dorchester, Massachusetts to an Irish Catholic family.
Reasonably
okay,
recent?
so this is I was going to say, this is kind of recent then.
The 70s.
His father was a violent, abusive drunk who worked as an enforcer for Irish gangsters. His dad got into some trouble and he fled the area, abandoned his family when John was 3 years old and he never returned, leaving him with his mom, and he had a significantly older half-brother and a couple sisters.
I got a feeling that the half-brother really kind of steered him into where we're going with this story. As the eldest brother, I know I was a dick to my younger brother, so I'm just imagining a half older brother. He was a real asshole.
And he's significantly older too. He's like 20 years older than him.
Oh yeah, so it was like, come get your fucking kid. I'm not dealing with this kid.
Like, what am I, his fucking stepdad? Growing up, John was large for his size. He was chubby but athletic, and he was a talented hockey player. He was really close with his mom. John was a good kid, and he always promised to be nothing like his father. Like, his father was violent when he was there, but he didn't remember most of it. He used to beat his mom, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna hit women. I'm not gonna do drugs. I'm not gonna drink. My dad was a fucking asshole, and I'm gonna be a better guy than that.
Something tells me that changes or gradually.
Yeah, like real quick, because how the fuck are you a hockey player and you're not violent and not drinking? I mean, I understand not hitting women, yeah, okay, but no drinking, no violence? How the fuck was you playing hockey?
He was one of the four. He was one of the dudes that zips around and doesn't check. He was the speedy guy.
I don't think they had those in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, that was until the Russian 5.
And he was described as a large, chubby, athletic kid, so I don't know how you do that unviolently.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, we'll jump right to it now. He always pledged he's going to be nothing like his father, but as good of a kid as he was, he had a hair-trigger temper. And when he was in middle school, a kid stole his shoes, and John beat him with a chair to the point where he got arrested and transferred to alternative school for troublemakers.
Well, I mean, what else you can do? You stole your shoes.
But damn, middle school, I'm thinking, what is that? Maybe, 10 to 13, somewhere around there? And you beat the shit out of somebody with a chair?
See?
I remember fist fights in middle school, but beating motherfuckers with chairs?
Nah, see, he's going through puberty. His body's changing. Hormones are happening. He's getting hair in funky places. Don't play with his shoes.
That's what happens when you don't check people in hockey. You beat people in everyday life with chairs.
His older brother...
He did say he was into wrestling, too. That was his shit. Comes in with a chair.
The metal chair.
So he had a real bad temper, and his brother, like I said, so by the time John's 14, his brother's 34. And they get in an argument one time, and John spits on him, and his brother pushes him down the stairs, and he tells him that he hopes he dies.
So the whole family, like, their reactions are very called for. They don't overreact at all.
That's a broke family reaction. I hope you fucking die. I mean, spitting on somebody is some real disrespectful shit to get your ass whooped over. But wishing death, that's a little extreme.
Well, that comment haunted John for the rest of his life because 2 days later, his brother passed away from a drug-related heart issue. So basically sounds like he did too much coke and had a heart attack. And John at 14 was like, fuck. My bad.
Jennifer, do I have magic powers?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'd have to think,
can I
wish shit on people? Look, I wish for $1 million right now.
He's like Rob Schneider in Three Ninjas?
So, when he was 14-year-old, it was a rough year for him all the way around. first his brother passed away, and then his mother ended up losing both of her feet to diabetes. And his brother was dead. He had 2 stepsisters, but they were drug addicts too, so he was the sole caregiver. So he started skipping school to try to take care of his mom and
help out and everything.
And she was supporting the family by herself with a job working at a shoe store. You know, she was always a doting mom. He was a mama's boy, so he became like a doting caregiver. He's skipping school. She doesn't have a job no more. And then not too long later, she ends up passing away from a heart blockage, leaving John to raise himself.
Now, how old were the sisters, did it say?
No, but they were like they're adults. So
okay,
they're like
so they're
in their 20s.
Up in their 20s or something. So he's like the baby of the family then.
Right. So she obviously had a couple kids from like a previous marriage and then got with this guy and had John. And now he's got these way older brothers. And Dorchester, Lowell, I don't know how much you know about like Massachusetts, but that area, there's a documentary called Lost Lives in Lowell, which is, if you've ever seen the movie Fighter, it's with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg.
I think so.
Where he plays his older brother's the drug addict or whatever. That was in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Word.
So that's got to be rough on the kid already, man. You're the baby of the family and having to take care of everything. You know, you got these 3 older siblings that just ain't shit. The one sit there, you wish death on him. He actually dies 2 days later. Your sisters are fucking drug addicts, and you're having to take care of your mom that has diabetes and lost her feet. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on that pipe, man.
On a 14-year-old?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Dude, in all honesty, his mom dies the best. Like, get the fuck out of there now. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's his
You ain't got to
escape,
take
man.
care of your older fucking crackhead siblings. Fuck that.
Not wanting to go into the system, he stays in the family home because it was in his brother's name. And the CPS believed he was being taken care of by his older sisters, but they were both addicts and they basically just moved out and never came and checked on him. So he was just 14 years old raising himself in his brother's old apartment.
So he was Kevin McAllister. He was all, I made my family disappear.
Wait, so okay, CPS comes in. You're dead. You're living in your dead brother's house, but your older sisters are taking care of you. Okay, cool. Not where are your older sisters? We need to speak with your older sisters. CPS was real loose in the 70s. They just showed up. Hey, he's got a house, so there's lights, there's water, there's some food in the cabinet. Yeah, he's good.
He's in a school for bad kids. What could go wrong? It seems to.
Well, I mean, this was the 70s. I mean, even parents like didn't give like. Have you seen Johnny today? No, I think I saw him yesterday. He's probably on his bike.
That is true though. That is true. You know, hey, it was be home before the lights came on, and you were out all day doing your thing.
And if this was a shitty part of town, I mean, CPS ain't doing wellness checks on that.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I think that's another thing that's consistent. You can see he's in Dorchester. He's in a rough neighborhood. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like, I don't know, you cool over there? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. They're like, all right, cool. We'll shoot you a call next year.
That's exactly how the CPS call went.
So he really struggled to support himself because, you know, he's a child.
That happened.
He was too proud for handouts, so he wouldn't take money from many people. He would hang out with his friends a lot and go over to their house to eat and stuff. So most of his eating was done by hanging out with his buddies, and he'd go grub at their house and come home. But he wouldn't ask for money. So like in the winter, he would never have heat or anything. So like he used to have to set up blankets over chairs that he could put by an oven to try and keep him warm, like through the winter, so that he wouldn't freeze.
So carbon monoxide poisoning wasn't a thing in the 70s.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
No,
motherfucker, kids was tougher back in the day.
No, he goes over other people's house. They're making forts for fun. He's like, no, I do this shit for survival. Making forts for a game. Like, they go over there. He's like, nah, these walls are weak. You gotta move these couch cushions that way. It holds it up. Like, damn.
Hey, look, bring them 4 dining room table chairs in here. I'm gonna show you how to fortify this motherfucker.
I'm gonna show you how to make a blanket fort, motherfucker. Angry and alone, he decided, if nothing else, I'll never be messed with again in this poor neighborhood. So he just begins to focus on fitness and weightlifting. He starts getting into working out all the time, and it's weird because he never had no money, but somehow he finds access to cheap steroids.
I thought you were gonna say a cheap gym. That went completely left.
Nope, he finds
Not
steroids.
a cheap gym, cheap steroids.
Yes.
I just can't believe this motherfucker's out here like a stray dog with his friend's house. He just comes over to eat, then wanders back home, has to make fucking blanket forts for heat, and he's like, no, I really got to work on my pecs. I really got to step my bicep game up. That's the issue. That's my problem, is I'm skipping leg day.
He was described as rapidly going from a chubby kid to a monster. By the time he was 16, he was so big that he was able to lie about his age and passed for 18 and got a job as a bouncer working local clubs.
Yeah, he's eating the steroids. All his fat turned into muscle. He probably grew some chin hair, some chest hair. You know, hey.
See, sometimes you have to sacrifice to invest in yourself. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know,
Forego
that is true.
a couple meals, now he's got a job.
True.
If I get some muscle on this frame, I can find a living, man. This is Dorchester. There's money to be made for a big Irish kid that can fight.
And that's the thing. Hey, you sit there, you get your size up, you can fight, you're strong. We will find you a job. We will have, hey, look, see them railroad ties? Take one every 5 miles and just drop it down because you're a big son of a bitch and you can move one by yourself.
Well, see, that's it. That's why he needs a job. He needs more blanket money because that fort's got to expand. He can't fit in that small one-bedroom fort. He's got to build it up.
Just to give you an idea of his size, I don't know how big he was at 16. I'll have a picture for later. But eventually, as he gets older, he's like 6'2", 250.
That's big kid
Seriously
for 70s,
big,
man.
sick boy. He's a big boy.
Well, he's 18 now. We started
No,
at
he's
71.
16. He's lying to say
Oh,
he's 18.
he's lying. So he was born in 71, so we're in the 80s now.
Yeah, 87.
Yeah, 87.
That's still a good-sized kid for the 80s, man.
Yeah.
It's a good-sized kid for now. What are you talking about?
Oh, you shouldn't, man. You see them now. They're 6'5", 6'7", 280. I had kids when I was coaching football. You got to take a knee because I'm not breaking my neck to look up to tell you what you're supposed to be doing, son.
So he's really good at bouncing. And he's so good that as a 16-year-old lying about his age, he starts bouncing at one of the top clubs in the Charlestown, Boston area. At this time, Boston had the third largest Chinatown in the USA.
Sorry to interrupt, but Damien really likes the whiskey. He's already on his second glass.
Well, I mean, if we're
Thank you.
handing out refills,
Oh, shit. I guess I'm the only one.
I'm good. There. So at this time, Boston has the third largest Chinatown in the United States. I also seen another thing that said fourth, but third or fourth, either way, it's one of the bigger Chinatowns. We know San Francisco and New York. Boston
No,
is a huge Chinatown.
this is important. You only get the medal if you're third.
And there was a big Vietnamese influx into Boston. Mark Wahlberg is actually from Dorchester. I don't know how familiar you guys are, but when he was a kid, he got in trouble for
Yeah, beating up an Asian dude.
beating up a Vietnamese guy and blinding him in the eye or something.
Oh, shit.
So this is around the same time.
As opposed to blinding him in the foot.
But so there's such a huge Asian population that the club he worked at on Sundays, they ran a night that was unofficially known as Asian Night. The club owners would tell John that all these well-dressed club goers, they're all gangsters. And he said, just steer clear of them. No matter what happens, you're the bouncer, work the door. But these guys are gangsters. Let them work this out on their own.
Like, look, they're getting some shit. Let them be in their shit. Just leave them alone. That's amongst them.
Right.
So it's the boys that are back in town rule. If they gonna fight, you better let them. The boys are back in town.
So one day, he's working on Asian Night, and he sees this big-ass Korean dude mace and beat the shit out of a Chinese guy so bad that he decides to get involved. He actually described the guy as looking like a Chinese Rod Stewart. So, that wasn't in my notes, but I felt like it's important to mention.
Did he say the guy that beat the shit out of the other guy looked like an Asian Rod Stewart? It was the guy that got beat up looked like an Asian Rod Stewart.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm like, that's not a big guy.
Yeah. So he's at work bouncing, and he sees a big-ass Korean dude beating the shit out of a little Chinese Rod Stewart looking guy.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, because I'm like, Rod Stewart, that's not a big guy.
So, and, you know, he's a guy that doesn't like bullies anyways. You know, he's
Right.
already got a problem with people fucking with little people. You know what I mean?
Sure, he'd been fucked with since he was a kid.
And he was a huge Rod Stewart fan.
So John steps in, he beats the shit out of the Korean guy. He helps his Chinese guy up. He takes him to the bathroom. He helps him rinse his eyes out. He's helping him to his car, and the guy gives him his card. And he says, look, if you ever need anything, you just call me and let me know. You know?
It says,
He done saved the right motherfuckers. Well done. That's what just happened. His life just took a whole good luck change by saving the Asian Rod Stewart.
So you look at that business card, and it just says Rod Stewart impersonator.
Come see me at Vegas. I'm the Asian Rod Stewart. We got a black Rod Stewart. We got a Puerto Rican Rod Stewart. It's a great show, dude. I'll get you VIP seats.
27 Rod Stewarts of the world.
So, like we mentioned earlier, John's a proud guy, so he doesn't like taking handouts. He continues to struggle. One day he's completely out of money. I actually read somewhere it said he had 76 cents. So he's down to his last 76 cents.
That's a very specific
that ain't even your last
amount to know.
$2.
Yeah. Hey, and that's how poor you are, and not a handful of change. Like, no, 76 cents, dude. This is what I got.
Hey, what's that song? I got some change in my pocket, and it's going jingling-ling. He was not bullshitting.
Dude, I can't even buy cheap steroids with this little, okay? So he's got no money. He's freezing. He's starving. And he says, like, I need my sister's help. So I got to go find my sister. Like, she can help me out. He goes to his sister's house. He knocks on the door. She refuses to answer. And she slides a letter under the door that says, go away.
She's in there tweaking. Why are you going to the tweaker's house for help? You're fucked at that point.
Just go away.
Go find the soup kitchen and get your shit together for a day.
Well, he says in hindsight, I don't think she was trying to be mean. I think she was just getting in there high. She was in there getting high.
Right.
And she's like, hey,
I'm busy.
Whatever, it's going to be worse in here. However bad life is out there, you don't want to come watch these guys gangbang me for some fucking crack and shit.
Wouldn't you know she's high because she took the time to write out go away instead of just say go away.
So he's in the cold, and he doesn't even have enough money to take a cab back, and he's just fucked. So he takes the change he's got left. He goes to a payphone, and he calls the number from the card that the guy gave him. So in less than 20 minutes, 2 BMWs loaded with Chinese gangsters arrive, saying they're there to pick him up. They're like, are you John? We're looking for a big white guy. You got to be John, right?
Shit, even if I'm not John, I'm going to be John. It's fucking cold. 2 BMWs pull up. I'll be John, James, and Jangleheimer Smith if you need, goddammit.
Now I'm thinking this is Chow from The Hangover. That's who he saved.
He's like, well, I called my boy, like, who are you guys? They're like, no, we're with him. He said, I'm going to take you to him. Just come on. And John legitimately said, like, I didn't have nothing to lose at that point. I'm like, you know what? All right, we'll see where this goes. What else am I going to do?
That car got heat? I'm in.
Right.
He jumps in the BMWs.
See, they did, going back to the stray dog thing, they just, like, waved some food and, like, gently got him into the car.
they waved some cheap steroids by the door. Like, come on.
Come on. Put out their hand, let him say, are you a good boy? You a good boy?
They didn't even have to wave anything. They opened the door, and he just felt the heat and was like, fuck it. Hey, if I die, I'll die warm and not cold.
Look, because I'm about to die out here anyway.
Right.
I'm going to freeze to death. That's an ugly, ugly way to go. Sure.
I imagine he put his arms in, and then they had to help and carry him in by the waist like they do, those old stray dogs when they get them in the car.
That's
they had to pick
fucked
up his hind legs.
They take him back to a mansion in South Boston. It's less than 20 minutes drive away.
Okay.
He gets to the mansion. He described it as an Asian gangster frat house. So he said it was just filled with Chinese gangsters, beautiful Asian women. So it's all their girlfriends. He says they all got like tattoos and spiked haircuts, and they're younger dudes, but they all got guns.
There's all kinds of lava lamps and black light posters.
And
they have a keg in the corner and a beer pong table.
And at first he's kind of like, dude, what the fuck is going on? They're like, come see your boy. So the guy he ended up saving was, the Americanized version of his name was John Joe. And he was a top guy in the Ping Ong, which is one of the largest Chinese gangs in Boston. And they had connections that go back to the 14K Triad, which is one of the biggest.
I kind of had a feeling that this was going back into the Triad somehow. I really, really did. I'm like, I don't know where that connection's going to come in, but I'm like, they showed up in 20 minutes. 2 black BMWs. He walks in. It's like fucking paradise compared to dealing what he's been dealing with. And yeah, something there is going to be definitely tied in with the Triads.
So we've dealt with a lot of the American tongs, which are kind of like an Americanized version, just like La Cosa Nostra is an Americanized version of the Mafia. The tongs are like an Americanized version of the Triads.
Mm-hmm.
But they were connected to the actual Triads, like the 14K Triads back in Hong Kong. So this is like big time shit.
And from what I understand, I could be wrong. I'm not a fact checker, but the Triads were even a more tighter, stricter rule than like the Italian mob was. Like it was some, you don't do shit without permission. You don't wipe your ass without permission for certain situations.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. It's they do everything in a very specific way, whether you're a Shaolin monk or you're a 14K Triad.
No,
We do things.
There's rules to this shit.
Normal Chinese parents are heavily disciplined and all that. So in the mafia, where it's already very highly disciplined and loyal and everything, I could only imagine.
So the first thing they do, he gets in there and they're like, "Well, you hungry?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah, I'm hungry." And they're like, "We'll get this kid some food." And he's towering over everybody in there. He's 16 years old, and he's scared of all these guys because they all got all these tattoos and guns and shit. But they're all like, "Holy shit, where's this big white guy come from?" And shit. But
how did he get cool with the head motherfucker in charge?
But yeah, John Joe's like, "Hey, that's my boy. Get him some food, whatever you want." He gets They give him some food and some chopsticks, and he can't work the chopsticks. So they're like, "Will somebody get him a fork?" They had to go find a fork. They didn't even have a fork. They're like, "Where do we keep the forks?"
Where's the plasterware? The spork, the thing with the little circle with the little splines on it.
Tie 4 chopsticks together. I don't know, figure something out.
So John Joe basically seen him not only as a benefit because he was fucking giant and he's seen him fight, and he's like, wow.
He saved his fucking life.
So, he does kind of owe him a debt, but on top of it, he's like, man, this kid fucking seems desperate. I think we could really get our hooks in here. I mean, I don't know. That's a more negative way to look at it. He might have just legitimately been like, hey, I owe this kid a debt.
Right.
I'm going to repay him. But either way, they feed him. He looks at his clothes. He's wearing like baggy jeans and a hoodie, and he said, look, he gives him $500. He says, don't go back to your job. You're with us now. And he tells his boys, he's like, hey, go get this kid some real clothes. So take him out shopping, get him some real clothes. They go get him like tailored suits and shit like that. I was about to say, he got some dope ass suits because look, you rocking with the Chinese folks now. They got some dope ass tailors. This kid about to be laced the fuck up. He's like, look, I was wearing like hoodies and jeans and stuff, and they were like custom tailoring me these Miami Vice suits, and like fucking. And he was like, well, fuck it, I'll take it. I guess this is my look now.
Fuck yeah, you go from just regular ragamuffin to straightening your tie a little bit. You got what? I'm telling you, don't let me get rich. It is gonna happen soon. I'm gonna be 3-piece down here, clean as shit, whistle every time.
They get him a wardrobe and new clothes. He got money in his pocket, and they all dig him. Like, they all think he's a good kid. They let him stay with them. He stays there in the house and shit. He gets to know all these guys, and they start to teach him the ways of the Asian underworld. And they just kind of start grooming him as this enforcer and bodyguard. And they realize this kid's pretty tough, and he's pretty fearless. You know what I mean?
So he is Tom Cruise in Last Samurai.
Yes, yeah. And he hasn't really his whole life has just been fighting for fucking everything, and these people really dig him. So he's like, he's never been like accepted before. So he's like, dude, these guys are fucking awesome. They're fucking shit. I love these fucking guys.
He's a rescue dog. He's overly protective of the people that saved him. They feed him.
But going back to what you said, maybe they were just trying to get his hooks in. I don't think so. I think, him saving old boy's life, he was like, you know what? I owe this kid. Let's go ahead and educate him, train him, teach him, and give him a good life because he saved mine. I think the way that the story is being told right now, I think that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I got to hear the rest of the story.
No, I tend to agree.
Well, it's probably a little bit of, but it sounds like he's just a cool kid. So once he's around, they just want to take care of him. Like, I keep on doing the stray dog, joke, but it's almost like, yeah, he's this little, orphan kid that comes around. Like, you give him some food, and he's cool. He's extra loyal. So, yeah, he saved his life. That was his foot in the door. But I think they genuinely are just like, yeah, it's a cool little kid.
Well, and they also
cool big kid.
Right, and they're like, wow, this motherfucker's giant. What the fuck? And he's like, hey, what's up, man? What do you guys need? Need me to do anything? Like, goddamn, I like this fucking kid.
Yeah, because you got to think the kid wasn't showing any love for, pretty much all of his life. And now you got these guys saying, hey, here's some suits, here's some money, here's some food. Hey, you know what? Let me teach you this. Let me teach you that. You sit there and take a kid that's been through a stressful life and start showing them love. Man, that kid will do anything for you, and you're going to see that. And you're going to appreciate that, too.
A little rescue child.
That's it.
So he shows a ton of promise, and eventually at some point they're like, look, you're for real in this life. You got some potential. We said you were with us, but you're for real with us. So what we need you to do is you got to go over to New York. We're sending you to Manhattan. You're going to stay in Chinatown there. And you're going to work with these guys there for a while. And they ended up sending him to Chinatown, where he stayed in a boarding house on Canal Street with basically a group of other up-and-coming prospective gangsters.
Oh, so they sent him to Triad College?
It's like big,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
big
kinda.
Chinatown. You know, I got a feeling like there's this big ass pot that he's got to pick up with his forearms to, you know, get the 2 tigers on either
Got it.
side. You know, like the kung fu, the old
Yeah.
kung fu. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, you got picked it up. All right, now you're in. Now we're going to teach you the rest of the ways.
He's got to go train like the bride in Kill Bill.
So these pictures, one of these is the late 70s, one of them is kind of current,
Okay.
but they're both Canal Street, and I post these up there because I wanted to give you an idea. It's not just Chinatown in general. Like, this is
That's just
Chinatown.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what it is.
That's the fucking strip. And this is where, you know, most of these crime lords, everybody else we're covering in this series, this is where they all make their bones and shit like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a real quick smoke break, refill our drinks, and we'll be back in a minute.
Round here. Shackles to break out of. They cower, solo but mob them and they crowd us. Spilling in the street with heat like hot lava. Pop bottles, molotovs tossed and rocks follow. Ominous disciples like vipers, they strike quickly. Come at me like an army, I'm tearing you down with me. Spit like a baron, rulers of bread like Kaiser. Roll with the goal and get beaten like outsiders. These amateur animals swing in the wrong jungle. Climbing the wrong vines mean these lions will snuff you. Concrete wilderness building our own structures. Writing our own order, appointing our own judges. Overthrowing authority, morally lack conscience. Fighting for survival with rivals with throat punches. Monitor the area carrying curved swords. Slither in the brush till we crush them with brute force. Men storming the harbor with armored attack armaments. Calling all guards to swarm them and skin their faces for ornaments. Order more troops to corner them, Agent Orange and mortar them. Kill them all, just destroy them and let your guy get to sorting them. Code of honor corroded as soon as it was awarded. Celebrations were thwarted before they could be supported. Rolling thunder bombarded them, flaming dart put a part in them. Separate and disarm them and send the bulls to the parliament. Operation Niagara, Viet Cong on the battle with landmines and grenades and flamethrowers to scatter them. Dear mama, this battle is harder than what we thought it'd be. Every part of me scarred, I'll be recognized when they mortar me. It's almost time to run, put on your army helmets now. You're running toward the sun with all your guns, defenses down. Flashes everywhere, the lights create an atmosphere. Water in your lungs, you pray for death, but life is here. You're about to die, face it, you're about to die. Zero sand in your glass, fuck it, you can't even cry. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Everybody grab a side as you fight to stay alive. Dancing on a hand grenade so you can die and they survive. Silver bullets in the sky, dropping 7-second death. Scattering the children, run, rub until there's nothing left. Ashes in the water, sons and daughters holding flags up high. Wallow in the harbor as the military tanks arrive. Penetrate the border with disorder like an animal. Every war has the honor of turning kings into cannibals.
Before this was a show, it was me bullshitting with my friends. and turn it into a podcast was as easy as going to anchor.fm. First of all, it's free, and it has all these creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And you can add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. Anchor will distribute your podcast to all the major distributors, including Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher, and you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now back to the show. All right, we're back. We're back with some more of this beer barreled New Holland. What was it called?
Beer barrel bourbon.
Yeah.
And it's just made by New Holland Brewery. Here
Quick
from
and to the point.
Holland, Michigan. Yeah, that's right. Like, there's really not much to say. Beer barrel bourbon, finishing in a beer barrel.
All right. So when we left off, John Willis had got transferred over to Canal Street in New York, Chinatown, kind of to learn the ropes and make his bones as a gangster.
Moving on up to
Well, that's
Canal
crazy because he
Street.
really ain't did anything to make his bones. He saved old boy's life, and that was it. But they'd already promoted him.
He's just likable.
They just
you know?
like him.
He's
Yeah.
likable.
Yeah, he must be a hell of a kid.
Yeah, no, he finna have to do some bullshit for real. I like you. You saved my life. Here's some food. Here's the soup. Here's some money. And now we gonna move you up to college right out of goddamn middle school. And yeah, now your bones about to be. I feel his bones about to be made. He about to kick some ass.
So he gets there and they don't like him. He didn't save their lives and they don't know him. And he's there with all these other up and coming gangsters and he's this big white kid. And these kids are all like immigrants and they, you know, came from Canton or wherever. And they're like, yeah, you're coming from San Francisco. You're coming from this place. We're sending you to college to go learn how to be gangsters. And then fucking Big Jed walks in. You're like, who the fuck is this guy?
So I got the feeling like, I don't know the Asian word for white boy, but if this was a Mexican story, who the fuck let the Wedo in and where the fuck did he come from?
Well, what makes it extra bad is it's not only that he's like the one white dude that's here in the middle of fucking Chinese Triad college, but he didn't even earn his way there. He has done nothing.
Right, he's got
like,
no family that sat there and like, look, his dad is ahead of this, his dad is ahead of that, your dad's ahead of this, and yo, here's this white guy. You got to teach him too.
Because I was gonna make like it's a weird version of like Cuba Gooding Jr. in that diving movie where he was like the first black diver or whatever, and they all didn't like him. Like he's the white guy there, but like no. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character earned his way to diving school and all that. This white boy didn't do shit.
Just some puppy that followed him home. We're sending him to New York. Where at first he was feeling the love there because that's his boy and those are his guys. So
Right.
they fucking love him. He goes there and they don't fucking dig him.
I got a feeling
Hey.
there was a phone call. Yo, who the fuck is this guy? Where does this white kid come from? Why is this guy here? He saved my life. Yeah, that's still bullshit. Why is he here? You know, this is where we train our people at. To sit there and take over our business, and you send a kid over here that's not even your fucking kid.
Yeah, it's like he saved your life. Okay, invite him to your cool parties and give him suits. Why you sending him to us? What the fuck is going on here?
And for the record, that word is guaylo. The Wedo or
Wedo is guaylo.
Guaylo.
Yo, I'm adding that to my shit.
That's the Iquenzuocha
so
for
it-
Ace Ventura fans.
Yo,
And
I like that because now I can sit there and say guaylo. I hope that's the right pronunciation.
for sure. I got it.
You really Mexicaned it up?
It's just ironic that you brought it up because you're saying it like, oh, I know that word. I do. I've done this. I've been researching this for a month. That word is guaylo. I'm well aware. And so is John Willis. He knows for sure what that word means. So yeah, they're not impressed. So when he can't use chopsticks, they just laugh at him and walk away. And they don't get him a fork. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and,
you just can't eat, motherfucker. Sucks to
and
be you.
they won't speak to him in English. So they just go about their business, and he tries to speak in English, and they just
But
move
that makes
on without
sense.
him.
You know, hey, you're in our presence. You don't know our language. Fuck you. You're here because this guy, you saved his life, but you know what? You still ain't shit.
Well, and that's over there. That's in Boston. This is New York, and none of us really know you, and I don't know. You're here for something, and I ain't seeing it.
And that's the thing. You got to think, you know, New York is the, you know, hey, this is where we're doing our thing. you know, okay, yeah, you're from Boston, they love you over there, but basically you're coming from like Elkhart, Indiana,
Yeah.
to Detroit and want some love. Yeah, fuck you.
But at the end, like, we keep on saying it's like Triad College or whatever, but like, why did they send him there? And why didn't they prepare, like, hey, these guys ain't gonna like you because you're white and you don't even fucking speak Chinese. Like, why did they send him there?
Yo, that's a good
I don't
fucking
understand
question.
that. The dude set him up to fail. And why did he say yeah? Why did he say, yeah, I want to go to this place that I don't know anyone and I'm not even a real fucking gangster? Like,
And I ain't got
why?
none of my homies here.
Why is
Like,
any of
nobody's
this
here to
happening?
back me the fuck up.
I think he was just pretty much a good soldier. Like, he just said, well, I guess that's what they want me to do. And where else am I going to go? I mean, I'm homeless. I got 76 cents and a note from my sister that says go away. Like, what else? Where am I going to go?
Well, no, I mean, he has John Joe there in Boston. Like, that's where he is. And what are they teaching him here that old John Joe can't teach them there with their own? That's what I'm saying. Why? I don't understand.
They
I
said he
think-
was going to go there and learn how to be a gangster.
I think what it is
Why
that,
can't they just
okay,
teach him that? I don't get it.
John Joe could be like, okay, I could show you everything and give you all this money, or I can sit there and send you over here to where you go through this training and you can make all this money on your own.
But is it real training? What are they training?
It's got to be
him?
because you're learning their ways, you're learning their rules, you're learning their laws.
Not when they don't tell him anything.
Hey,
Now
you better-
he's not learning
hey,
shit.
look.
You don't know what's going on.
You take a baby and you throw it in the pool, it figures out how to fucking swim. You take this, I think he's 18 at this time.
Yeah. Oh, he's 17.
He's 17 at this time. You gonna figure this shit out or you're not.
Yeah.
You
When he's
know.
17, they sent him to New York to learn how to be an Asian gangster. That is pretty fucked up.
But I think it's also some type of respectful shit because he could have just been like, okay, we're just gonna keep him here. You're just gonna be a foot soldier. You're just gonna be my bodyguard. You're just gonna be this low level motherfucker. You know, kind of like with the Italian mob where you're not Italian, you can't be made.
Mm-hmm.
But with this guy, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna send you over here. Like, I don't know if there's a made thing with these guys. I don't know if, you know, you got to be an Asian person to be made. But look, I'm gonna send you to college. You better sink or fucking swim. We'll figure it out later.
I think there's something to that. I don't know for sure, and I don't have the answer. I mean, we'll kind of cover it. You know, you could kind of take what you want out of it. But my kind of opinion is some of what you said and some of we talked about earlier, the discipline and stuff with these organizations and how far they go. Like, you know, he's with the organization that goes back to the 14K triads
Right.
overseas and stuff. They're not accepting of just a whole bunch of people. So just an organization that's bringing in people from out of town to bring them up anyways. If you got some white dude that all of a sudden you're working with, for one, we're going to find that out quick, you know, because we keep an eye on our business. And if you're saying you trust them, maybe we got to take a look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe, okay, we'll take your recommendation or whatever, your reference. We appreciate that, but let's see what he's like. He didn't save me at a bar, so I don't have this bias to it. Let me see if he's really as cool
I
as you
get that.
think. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's the guy that saved you when you was
Like,
little.
he's down for the cause for you, but
Yeah.
we got to make sure that he's down for the cause for all of us.
I mean, a cop could do that, right? Swoop in to help you one day, and now he's your best buddy. We want to take a closer look. So
Makes sense.
ultimately, when he got over there, the big breaking point was kind of he would have to go out to the clubs because they'd all go do everything together. You know what I mean? You're with this gang, you're with the other gangsters, you're with these higher ups, and they would go to clubs, and all these other guys would be hitting on all these girls and stuff, and then they would laugh at him and look at him, and they talk to him, and he couldn't speak, you know what I mean? He'd only speak English, and he could never get no girls, and he was just there to get laughed at all the time. So then he started getting frustrated, and they were always watching like Chinese gangster movies. So he started watching these movies they would watch all the time and started taking like notes. And when they were out walking around and shit, like he would take notes on symbols in Chinatown and listen to people talking and shit. And he's just basically,
So he's trying to pick up the language.
yeah. So he
He's
ends up,
developing his own Rosetta Stone.
so he ends up teaching himself how to speak Cantonese with like 3 different dialects just based off listening to shit and watching shit and taking notes. And he'd just stay up late, like going over his fucking like flashcards basically that he would teach himself. And he teaches himself how to speak Cantonese. And he basically at some point just throws himself into the Asian culture. He's like, this fucking sucks. I gotta learn how to speak Cantonese. And he's 17, going to these clubs with these big-time gangsters with these hot girls, and he's the only one that can't get them. I mean, that's incentive enough. You've been a horny 17-year-old boy. You know that if anything will teach you how to speak Cantonese, it's fucking that. So yeah, he just throws himself into it. So he teaches himself how to use chopsticks. He'd listen to Chinese songs on his Walkman because they'd go karaoke. At one point, he fucking listened to his Walkman and memorized like word for word a Chinese song that he wanted to fucking karaoke. But like some of the shit, like he had to learn how to pour tea correctly. Like, I guess you pour it, and then you put the spout away from, like, the elders or the top guys and shit.
Oh, so you gotta say, hey, you gotta pour over the right shoulder, and then turn the teapot to the left.
So when he went there, he was kind of like, hey, I'm big and I'm tough, and they kind of like that and shit. And then he got there, and they're like, yeah, you act like an asshole. We don't like that.
You don't know how to pour tea. You
He
don't know how to serve noodles.
He had to find out the difference between the salad chopsticks and the entree chopsticks.
You don't slurp noodles to show respect. You're fucking it up all over.
He learned the ins and outs of the Buddhist religion, and he always said like, well, I'm Catholic, but I mean, if you're in this culture, it's important to know all the aspects of the culture. So he'd actually been to, like, Buddhist temples and had been like had blessings from like Buddhist preachers and shit like that.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and eventually they just started like, you know what?
He done put his dudes.
We kind of like this kid.
He done took
we
the
think
shit.
he's pretty fucking good. And he basically learned how to be Asian. So he learned how to speak Cantonese. He learned different dialects. He learned the songs, he learned the religion, he learned everything.
See, in the movie of John Willis, this would be the kick-ass montage.
Well, come on. We would have had to do a shopping montage earlier, right? When they fucking
yeah. He would pop out of the dressing room with different suits on. At one point, it would be a rhinestone cowboy suit, just for laughs.
Rhinestone cowboy.
Just for laughs. Yep, and then the Triad guy would put his head to his forehead and shake his head.
Oh, serious? No.
Oh, you American.
And then it ends with a big thumbs up, and he's got like the Miami Vice fucking Don Johnson.
He comes out in a tuxedo with the top hat and like the fucking coattails.
So this is montage 2. This is the learning to be Asian montage.
It's one of him up late at night underneath his blanket with his flashlight.
So by
He
now,
done built the fort.
Yep. He built the fort, learning Cantonese, then doing push-ups, then him, oh man, and like slipping with the chopsticks for a while, and then it goes back and it keeps on cutting back, and then by the end, he's just chopsticking it up, no problem.
Picking up Asian
all
ladies
I'm
at
seeing
the
is
club.
Rocky in Russia. Using chopsticks to do push-ups.
Yep. I'm getting a stronger.
So eventually they're like, yeah, we fucking like him. These guys that he kind of came up with as a gangster, he still to this day calls them his Asian brothers. He got traditional Chinese tattoos, and he's like probably the only white guy with Asian tattoos that's not a douche. Like, he actually knows what they mean.
He knows what his tribal art is.
Yeah. Well, he's got
don't say salt, pepper, ketchup.
He's got a dragon on one arm, and then he's got like a fish on the other one, but it all is like some fucking like, you know how the Russian tattoos are like real specific and shit?
I know.
His actually doesn't say the wrong thing. So over time, he starts referring to them as Asian brothers. He gets traditional Chinese tattoos. They began to refer to him as Bac Guai, which is white ghost.
Okay.
And that's what his homies would call him. The other people in the neighborhood would not. They would start to call him White Devil John. They kind of move him on to some more gangster shit. So in Chinatown, they gave him his first gun. They taught him how to shoot. They taught him the ins and outs of running gambling dens and massage parlors. And it consistently says massage parlors, but I feel like I know what it means when the Triads run massage parlors.
He liked to go get the money from the happy ending place.
I mean, I got that.
Tug.
But I feel like that's a job perk. You know what I mean?
I go pick up my boy's money. I get a rub out. Hey, you know, every fucking time, every place I go to pick up the money, I'm getting a rub out. So hey, I got 5 rub outs a day.
He seems to excel at it. He's big boy. He's tough. He can fight. Eventually, they move him into a crew that specializes in robbing gambling dens and check cashing places.
Oh, so now he's going to rob other places that, you know, ain't part of their gang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like first time he went and tried to rob one, he almost got shot in the head, and he's like, "All right, I gotta I wasn't prepared for that. That shit's kind of scary and shit. But what was weird is he started talking about, he was like, well, yeah, it's all kind of scary, but you learn how to get past it. And he started talking about, like, you know, at some point when you're getting, like, chased down the street by a Chinese gang with machetes. Yeah, it's scary at the time, but, you know, it happens so much at some point you just kind of get sort of used to it. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Wait, did you say you just get used to that? Because I don't think I could ever get used to Asian gangs chasing me down the street with machetes.
Well, I mean, that's because you've never had it happen.
I'd be all right with that because you know what they're not doing with machetes? They're not throwing them.
Right.
So at least if you got some wheels, you can hit a couple fences, maybe, you know what I'm saying, run through a couple alleys.
Hey, we did always say he was big and athletic, too.
Hey,
maybe he just gets the hoof in it. They start trying to chase him with machetes. Like, dude,
like, yeah, fuck you. You're not going to catch me, and fuck your knife.
You ever see a 6'2", 250-pound dude hop a fence? This motherfucker flings over.
Now they call him linebacker John. Goddamn.
One step
That's
over that
why,
6-foot
That's
gate.
why they call him White Ghost, because he just goes through walls.
So he becomes real good at that. At one point, they kind of started to use him as like their muscle guy. He went into, at some point he goes in to collect at a place, and they were like, who's this fucking piece of shit white boy think he is trying to come in here and collect from us?
Right.
In Chinese. And he just answered them in Chinese, and they were like, all right, here you go. Here's the money. My bad.
He hit that moment. They were like, oh, we didn't know you was that guy. Yo, get him the money.
Yeah. White Devil John's here. You guys, get the money. Yeah, and that's when like he kind of developed a reputation. People were scared to shit of him because he was like this legend. He learned at some point, he said, look, instead of going in these places, it's so much easier to rob them. At some point, they bring out the money. And a lot of the Chinese gangs, they had a real thing for handcuffing themselves to the briefcase. So they carry the money in the briefcase and handcuff themselves to it. And people were so afraid of him, and they were always shocked by how so big he was. So when they would catch him, he would come up with a machete, and he'd be like, hey, you can unlock the handcuff, or I'm going to cut your hand off. And they would just cough out the money all the time. Can we get that case of money? He'd be like, yeah, you know what?
No
My bad.
problem.
Yo,
I don't even want to be a gangster no more.
So the handcuff to the briefcase is really just for sure. It means absolutely nothing. Yeah, I'll still just give it to you.
Yeah, I'll just give it to you.
Yeah, see, I give him points, though, for the simple fact that he was polite enough to be like, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Which one you want to do? Because, you know what?
It would be a lot cooler if he just ran up to,
yeah,
he just didn't give him a chance.
He would earn points there because he'd be like, I ain't asking shit. Whop. Yo, boss, you got a hand with this briefcase. It was connected.
Well, I mean,
it's probably a lot easier on him to just.
Yeah, I ain't asking no fucking question. I'm gonna just chop your shit off and yo, we out.
I think it could be assumed if at some point they start unhandcuffing when he shows up, he probably
took a
couple hands off to make people say like, hey, he's not bullshitting.
Look, the white ghost don't fuck around.
He will cut you.
He's
the bear Jew.
Shit off.
He's the bear Jew.
Yeah, he's the bear Jew of Chinatown and shit. Where they're like, oh, do you know who I am? Yeah, you're the white devil. You're here to cut my hand off.
Here's your briefcase.
It seems to be a style. At one point, he said, when they asked if he ever committed a murder, he said, I've never been convicted of any murders.
Well, I was about to say to that point, and this is something like the Asian gangs really keep that no snitching thing like for real, because so far we haven't heard anything that's real of him like proving himself. We're assuming
he ain't made his bones at all.
Like we're assuming, like he probably has taken off a couple hands, but we're not hearing about it. We're assuming he's probably had to really fuck a few people up, but we're not hearing about it. As of right now, he does have that legend of being the white devil, the white ghost, but we haven't heard what the fuck he did to. All we heard is like, yeah, it turns out he learned the language and figured out chopsticks, so now they like him. But I'm sure he has fucked people up. It's just they are extremely tight-lipped about their shit.
Yeah, there's nothing in the story about it. It's pretty much like he's the collector. The collector shows up, to give it to him, and that's it. He's not had any bodies. He's not blown anybody's heads off.
He's like the white soldier, or the winter soldier.
Yeah, he just shows up. Hey, look, you don't fuck with this guy. You just give him whatever the fuck he asks for.
So he puts in a lot of work. He becomes like a top guy in New York. And at some point, in 1990, Boston calls him back. But after being in Manhattan for a while, he comes back to Boston. Everything seems like real slow. And he shows up, and they're like real surprised, like at how much he embraced the culture.
But like, what the fuck did they think was gonna happen?
I don't know.
Well, you take a white shirt and dunk it in red dye. It's a red fucking shirt.
Well, I think what happened was he was overconfident, and then he was unconfident, but by the time he went back, to him, it kind of almost seemed like small time again. So they end up putting him with a guy named Bai Ming, who was like, he was kind of a mid-tier guy. Like, he was a guy that had some clout, but he wasn't like a top guy. So they just kind of put him with him, and he puts him on as like his driver and enforcer. And then it turns out the reason that they had brought him back up was it turned out there's about to be like a big war. So there was like a Boston Chinatown massacre where they walked up into this bar and they killed 5 out of 7 people. The 7th guy probably was the one that left the door open so that they could come in to kill everybody.
Right.
And it was like real chaos. He was the driver and bodyguard. His job was to check for bombs in his car before he started it every time. So I don't know if that means start it and see if it blows up or actually...
Like crawl up underneath it with a flashlight and be like, yeah, no, nothing's underneath the plate. You're good.
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both. It's just how good he crawls around looking for that bomb depends on like how confident he is when he turns that key. But he's probably doing a little bit of... If he wants to risk it, he might just hop in there and turn the key without looking around first.
Well, Bai Ming loves him, so he just came back from, real time.
He came back from the show back to AAA ball.
Right. So he's bringing Bai Ming his tea, and he puts the spout on the right side, and then he checks for bombs in his car, and he's like, dude, this guy's the fucking shit, And this big war breaks out, and these guys are dying left to right, but who doesn't die because they got a sweet-ass fucking bodyguard? Is Bai Ming. Right. So this whole thing shakes out, and when it's all kind of said and done, he's like the last man standing, and he becomes kind of like the new de facto number 2 of the family just by the sake of attrition. And
he's Forrest Gump after that hurricane happened, and now Bubba Gump is the only boat left.
Yeah, and they're just pulling in shrimp. So now Bai Ming's this top guy, and his right-hand man is fucking John Willis. So now he's one of the top triads in America, and they go check back in Chinatown, and these guys fucking love him. So he's like, yeah, I guess he's part of our family now. I guess this motherfucker's a gangster and shit, Yeah,
and he's the white dude invited to the cookout.
His status with gang soars. He does a couple short stints for extortion. In 2005, he was sentenced to 5 years for heroin trafficking. And when he's in prison, he meets a ton of connections. So he meets a bunch of guys.
Yeah, he done saved a motherfucker's life. He done became the new motherfucker's head in charge, fucking lieutenant. So yeah, hey, take care of this kid.
Yeah.
Well, we said 100 times if think him going to Canal Street was college, like prison is criminal college. Especially in prison, if he's the white guy hanging out with the triads in prison, it's a pretty big deal because race crossing is not that popular in the
that's not a friendly thing you do. So, if he went in there and got that, he was already seasoned up to like, look, this guy's coming in, this is who you take care of.
The Aryan Brotherhood was like, what the fuck's going on here?
How the fuck this kid come in here and he's got high status over here?
Hey, how's the top recruit going over with the Asian squad and shit?
Where the fuck he learned to portee like that?
Well, see, I think normally prison is like college for the gangsters, but he already went to college, so now he's like going for his master's. You know what I'm saying?
He's getting a doctorate.
I like the doctorate.
Like, no, I'm a gangster's gangster. At one point, they asked him, like, you still get to speak Chinese? And he's like, yeah, there's other Asian guys in here. What do you mean? You're not Asian, dude. There's not other Asian guys.
I got my master's. I've got my doctorate. What they call it when professors can do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, tenure. I've got tenure around this bitch before I even got to jail.
So he does his 5 years. He gets out. Bai Ming tells him, like, look, we're moving away from drugs. You know what I mean? So he says we're moving away from drugs, but he's also like, you know what? You don't got to be my driver and bodyguard. You can do your own thing. Like, kind of a promotion. Like, hey, we're still...
The way I can get my own group together, or,
So he kind of started running his own operations. He would work for Bai Ming, but he was, instead of just driving for him, he'd kind of run his own little schemes and operations on the side.
Okay.
A lot of extortion. He worked at a lot of clubs and stuff like that. After his release, he meets a 19-year-old Vietnamese immigrant named An Nguyen, who had just had a daughter. And one of the funniest stories was that girl, when she first met him, and he was 13 years older than her, so she was 19 and he was 32, which is a little creepy. But she said the first things I ever said to him, he started hitting on me. He's like, "Oh, what, another white guy with an Asian fetish?" And I was just thinking, like,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, but not like I have a weirder
Like,
Asian
I got
fetish.
a whole background over here that you don't know about.
That's an
I've been-
oversimplification.
I've been training in this shit for 17 years now.
Look, you're only 19. I'm almost more Asian than you.
Isn't a fetish, it's full-on appropriation. Don't be weird.
So at one point, she's kind of blowing him off, and then she seen him at a club one time. He was working with some bouncers he used to know and shit, and he was just bullshitting, and some shit started going on, and he started speaking in Chinese, and she was like, "Hey, why you speak Chinese and shit?" And then, like, at some point, she kind of was like, "Wow, he's like really into Asian culture and shit." So she starts to dig him. He falls madly in love with her, and they start dating. They never got married, but he kind of adopted his daughter, or her daughter as like his daughter. Like, he just started taking care of him and shit.
Man, it's really great. Him just learning Cantonese is really going a long way. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a white guy that can just speak some Cantonese, they will fucking love you. That's all you need.
Most cultures do appreciate if you try to learn their language, though. Like, people,
Yeah,
even if you're
that's
not
all
good
it
at it,
takes.
even if you're just trying, most people will accept that to some extent. And shit.
Hit on an Asian chick? No, this is just a fetish. Speak some Cantonese? Oh, now I'll fuck you.
She's not even Cantonese. She's Vietnamese, too.
Yeah, it's not even the right language.
Hey, there's some things you could read that say
That is
that.
not how that shit works.
Have you listened to the story?
I'm listening to
It
this
is how
story.
it worked.
No, but see, that's what you don't get about that culture. She was single and a mom. So she was lucky to catch up with him. And she didn't even know it. Then she found out that he actually sat there and knew her language. She was like, all right, you know what? Part of the gang. He knows the language. I've got a daughter. I'm a single mom. So basically, I'm a whore in everybody's eyes. So, you know what? Let me go ahead and roll with this guy because he's actually going to take care of my daughter. Am I wrong?
No, I think, okay, the second he saved that guy, you said, oh, he saved the right motherfucker this day. Well, she got hit on by the right motherfucker that day.
There
you
you
know
go.
what? I don't know. You're a little old and you're white, but
You're white.
she said, oh, and I seen him speaking Cantonese. No, you seen him telling the bouncers what to do and acting like a boss, and you're like, oh, wait, this motherfucker is in
He got
charge.
some motherfucking pull.
So he brings on a family, and he decides he wants to start bringing in some money. And he had made some of his connections in prison. He had found these guys from Florida that had like a link to oxycodone. He reaches out to fucking his boys in Florida, and he's like, hey, I live in Massachusetts where people do that shit. So he reaches out to some of his old buddies from Dorchester, and he says, can you guys set up a distribution operation? And Ming told him to stay out of the drug trade, but he was like, well, I've been doing this for a long time, and you said I could kind of set up a side business, so it's not your fault. You know, I'm just going to do it on the side. You get some money. You don't got to worry about it. Plausible deniability is what he was thinking.
All right.
I know you have to say no drugs, but I got this good thing, and I'm just going to do it. and send
I'm
you some
hearing
money.
Goodfellas is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's Henry Hilling the fuck out of this. He's Henry Hilling.
He's like, look, you can sell your drugs in prison. When we get out, you don't do that. That's all I'm hearing right there.
So they set up a chain of like doctors that could sign it off and shit, and they get thousands of pills. They put them in multivitamin bottles and shit, and they'd send them through plane. He had like all kinds of distribution. So like every shipment, he would send one by plane and one by truck, and hopefully they both make it, and then you have extra. But if not, nothing, at least one makes it. So he had like this whole fucking system set up.
Don't put all your pills in one basket.
I was gonna say this motherfucker pulled a Paul Revere. If
Yep.
it was two by lantern, they were coming by sea. If it was two by torch, they were coming by land.
We got some pills coming. You know what I mean? One way or the other. Oh, you missed that one? We got another one coming.
Did they catch this one? They didn't catch that one.
So he's getting both ends. So he's getting them from scratch. But then in Massachusetts, he's running the distribution end, too.
From farm to table. You know? It's all in-house. But old Paulie Ling's going to be pissed when he finds out what old John Hill's been up to.
Well, and he's running the whole operation out of a waterfront mansion in Pompano Beach, Florida. So here's his mansion. Well, this is his first mansion.
It was a very yellow house.
Yeah. Well, let's...
So wait, he's moving all of the dope out of the mansion?
Well, that was like his base of operations. So, I don't...
But I can get that because, you know what? You got the water right here. So you can send a boat that way. You can send a boat that way. I mean...
And then he had another... He had a spot in Dorchester. He's still in Dorchester, but he's in a nicer neighborhood. But he had a big house there. So he starts bringing in millions a year. He just spends it. He spends on his wife and his daughter. He just fucking...
Good family man.
Anything you want and shit. But then he's like, he buy motorcycles, speedboats, a Porsche, a Hummer, a Bentley, a nightclub, and a second mansion on the ocean. A second. Like, well, I mean, I got a mansion on the ocean.
He's got a nightclub. That's an investment.
I
mean, I don't hear no bad buys.
That's my work mansion on the ocean. I want a personal mansion on the ocean too. The problem is Ming was right, and they should have stayed out of drugs. They always had him on the radar, but they never thought much about him because they just thought he had to be like a low-level associate because they're like, well, the Chinese don't fuck with white guys, and there's this white guy, so he can't be up to much. So he was always like, whatever. He was like persona non grata. They legitimately didn't give a fuck about him.
See, he's in there. He's hanging with him all the time. We see him with him all the time. He's the bodyguard. He's the servant. He's the fucking car guy.
They don't do crime with fucking white guys, so he's cool.
See, I would be like, the fuck is this white dude doing with the Triad? What's going on here? We should look into this.
Well, I would think he's washing their fucking cars.
Not if he has like 5 fucking mansions.
That's how you're going to see it. Whether it's a white guy with a bunch of black dudes, a white guy with a bunch of Mexicans, a white guy with a bunch of Asians. This white guy is here because he's fucking serving a purpose, but he's not the head motherfucker in charge.
See, that's a bad... So he's got 5 fucking mansions. I would be on him.
Well, they should have, but they didn't. That changed.
Hey, we put it in John's name, but it's not John's shit.
I got everything in my white boy's name.
That's right.
So, in 2010, they picked him up on surveillance during a drug operation. All of his mob shit with the 14K had went under the radar, and then one day he was doing some drug shit, and it was marijuana. So he fucking was doing like some low-level drug shit, and he's out there selling it, and they picked him up on surveillance, and they started looking at him, and they're like, hey, wait, they're like doing gambling and prostitutes. This motherfucker's selling
weed.
$40 million. Well, they picked him up on the weed, and then they started looking, and they're like, hey, he's slinging pills from Florida to fucking Massachusetts. You know what I mean? And he's fucking... So he could get pills at $9 and sell them at $15, and he'd do like hundreds of thousands of pills at a time. You know? Okay. So he's just fucking making...
nice turnover rate.
Yeah. So they're like, hey, wait a minute. We're wasting all this time following fucking Bai Ming around. This motherfucker's, he's getting 30% off every hand job that they give at the massage parlor. In the meantime, this fucking white dude's slinging pills from Florida to Massachusetts. Let's just move that shit over to him.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta ask. Is that a legit number? 30% off of a hand job?
If you own a brothel, you're getting a percentage of every hand job done there, right? So he's running massage parlors. He gets a cut.
Who came up with 30% of a hand?
I'm just guessing. I haven't run a lot of brothels lately. I mean, maybe it's moved to 37. Okay, I'm guessing 30.
Is 30% of a hand job? I want to know these numbers now because 30% of a hand job, that sounds kind of high.
What percentage are you thinking, Damien? What percentage are we going?
For a hand job, at least you get 15% because it's like low work, low effort.
All right.
So I want to know what the other percentages were.
Well, no, I'm talking about the percentage he gets. So he's not doing any work, right? So I think the more work they put in, they should get more of.
What kind of pimping you been doing?
Equal rights for prostitutes. All right?
I guess I'm a terrible pimp.
You really are. You giving 70% for a hand job? That's bad math.
Fair pay for fair work.
overhead. I mean, we got this fucking place, you know. We got
How much how much percentage does he get for overhead? How much percentage is that?
He was supposed to get 70% of the hand job money. Your math did not add up.
Well, what I'm forward thinking. Like I said, overhead. You got to play employees. Like you got a Mama San, right? She gets a piece.
That's
of that.
why you get 70%. Mama San only gets 2.5.
Yeah, the person that gave a hand job, they barely get. They get a room.
They get 1.3.
They get a plate of hot noodles.
Any fans out there, if you're a brothel accountant,
let us know.
Feel free. The going rate.
What is the typical percentage of a hand job? At the top end. You know what I mean? We're talking. I need to know our kick-ups. So he starts getting pressure on him. He knows he's getting investigated. At one point, he gets arrested in South Carolina without his. Well, he gets pulled over without his license, and he knows he's fucked. And then they just let him go. And he's like, something's going on. You know, so he starts talking to his old lady. Now, I forgot to leave. I left this out. At one point when he started dating this girl, she kind of fell for him. And she's like, yeah, I like this guy. They started dating. But a couple months into it, she was like, hey, something seems up. Like, what is it you do for a living? And he was like, well, I'm a gangster. And she said, well, look, so moving forward, I don't want to hear anything about anything that you ever have to do. He starts realizing he has a feeling he's getting investigated. He starts getting real paranoid. At one point, he tells his wife, he's like, you know what, I think I kind of want to go straight, but I honestly have, like, no path to do that. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I've kind of been doing this since I was 16.
Like, I'm legitimately a broken human. Like,
yeah,
I'd like to be a good guy, but I don't know.
But no, I get that, you know, because you sit there and you get infused into a life that he was never a bad kid. Mm-hmm. He was just in a bad situation. He got shown love from people that were into gangster shit, so there's nothing else that he knows.
All right, I just got to be a gangster. 2011, Mylin, that's the name of his stepdaughter. So they were like, well, look, we're figuring it out. We're going to throw her this big, it's her birthday, it's her 9th birthday. We're going to throw her this big party. He was in town from Florida, so he'd been traveling a lot. She went and picked him up. When he got home, they had the daughter come sleep up in the bed with him that night because she was excited to see him, and he got in late, and they're like, hey, just come stay with us and shit. And they woke up in the morning to the cops banging on the door. As soon as he heard it, he knew. So he told his old lady and the kid, he's like, hey, stay in here, don't come out, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I know what's going down.
Hey,
I'm about to get my fancy new bracelet.
Right, you're just gonna go have a good party. He told his daughter he has to go back to Florida. And he went down and got arrested by the cops. It was on the morning of her 9th birthday. He ends up getting charged with distribution and basically conspiracy and racketeering charges on setting up a interstate pill operation. You know, It's drugs. All the charges, all the things.
He gets charged for doing the things that he did.
Yes.
But no, you know, at that time,
every single one.
All of the stuff.
There was actually doctors that were getting paid off of pushing Oxycontin real bad. So, you know, he probably got them trumped up charges for moving it from state to state because of actually what doctors were doing at that time.
Well, that's around the time that they did the big crackdown on all prescription drugs, especially Oxycontin and oxycodone and shit. There was that big thing where doctors were going to jail. They were
writing fucking prescriptions for like fucking 500 pills a month. The doctors were making all this money for moving the oxycodone. And that's like you said, they were fucking busting doctors.
It was like that weird thing where the government all of a sudden was like, wait, people are just buying and selling these on the black market and people are just getting high in ODing? No. When really it's just they want their cut of the money. That's what it is. You get busted if
you're not sneaking around selling our drugs.
Well, see, that's why weed became such a bad thing, quotation marks, was because they couldn't fucking tax it. You can grow weed any fucking where.
That's all it is.
But now they sat there and was like, you know what? Let's let the people open up stores to sell weed, and we collect all this fucking income off of it. So that's why weed ain't a bad thing no more.
So he fought it in trial, but in August of 2013, Willis was convicted of drug trafficking and money laundering and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Bai Ming actually stuck with him and helped him out, even though he told him not to sell drugs, and he sold drugs anyways. Like, he still helped him with his defense fund and shit, and then still made sure that all the Asian gangsters backed him when he got convicted. He's like, all right, we told him not to do that, but
he still ain't said shit about anything we sent him to do, so you know what? look out for the kid.
Well, and it does seem like John Willis was offered leniency on his drug charges to snitch on the Triad, and he was like, I'll just do 20 fucking years in fucking prison.
Well, let's see, what's he at?
Federal prison.
32, 33 at this time?
Well, no, there's 2011. Well, 2011. What is that? He's born in 71.
40.
Yeah, 40
So
exactly.
40. You know what? I'll
You can
take
get out.
my chance doing these 20 years. I'll be 60, and I don't have the Triads trying to kill me in prison. Yeah, fuck you. I ain't saying shit.
Well, you can still be alive at 60, right? I mean,
Oh,
that's all
fuck
good.
yeah, easily.
I can do till 60.
I can come out, get a job at McDonald's, hopefully, get a little part of Social Security, you know.
As you say 60, that's still a couple years before you even have to get Social
And then what is it,
Security.
65 for Social
62,
Security?
I thought.
Is it?
Like something like that. I don't know.
know they readjusted the
Like,
shit.
hey,
I don't know.
I do.
Look, I can get out alive.
Yeah.
Look, if I
And
did,
have
still
a better-
probably be taken care of.
And you got a better chance of getting out alive if I don't fucking rat.
right. Well, and while I'm gone, you got the old lady and the kid. All right.
Yeah.
I can do it. Fuck it. I guess it looks like I'm doing 20. So, John Willis is still currently doing 20-year sentence in Cap Bend, U.S. federal prison.
And still stuck by it. He ain't said a damn word, has he?
No. He's done like interviews because they're trying to do a movie about him. So he's done like interviews and shit like that because I did like a thing in Rolling Stones on him.
Right.
He's working on selling his movie, but that's why it's weird. He's really candid about anything he's ever been convicted of.
But
Like
anything
when you
I
ask
ain't went
him,
to prison for it, hey, I don't know what the fuck you're talking
like I
about.
don't know, you're coming up in a world where everybody's killing each other. Did you ever kill anybody? Like, well, I've never been convicted of killing anybody. I don't want you to write a bad movie, but I'm saying
Did you
I've
do
never
this for the Triad? I don't even know who the fuck the Triad is.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I don't even know.
Like, I know that you can get money by telling them you'll cut off their hand with a machete. How do you know that? I'm just saying.
It was a
Just
story
saying.
that I heard.
So that's the story of John Willis.
So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
All right, so you guys haven't seen the picture.
I know who will play this guy.
Okay.
It was this hillbilly movie.
I like it already.
No,
All right.
this guy, he played Bane.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
What was the hillbilly movie that he did?
Oh,
It was him.
Lawless.
Lawless, yes. I feel that dude
Mhm.
would be that guy. He was a great big brother. He was fucking.
He's
Oh,
great in
dude,
everything.
he was.
He's
My-
great in
my
everything.
favorite-
Lawless, he took bullets and was like, plop, plop, shot a motherfucker, get little brother in the truck, and come on, let's go get him.
Hey.
I mean, that movie was so fucking amazing.
And watch
man.
Lawless because that's a future cover. We're going to cover that guy on the
Oh,
podcast
word?
at some point. Yeah.
Oh,
for sure. So go
but
rewatch it
I
and
definitely
dig it.
want to be on that one.
The best line is when he says, "Have you met Howard?" And his brother comes stomping through the building and beats the shit out of both of them. And then he has to go hand them their guns back and shit. Well, here's your gun. Now you go on ahead about your day and shit. But I just love how calm he is when he says, "Have you met Howard?"
Me, I think I would just go classic Mark Wahlberg. Fuck it. Why fuck with a different thing? He can just play this dude.
So this is young John Willis. So this is when he's growing up. Like, so this is chubby him. This is when he was 16.
We got them cheap steroids.
Yo, you know what? I said one thing, but I've got to go fucking. No, I'm seeing Tom
Oh,
Cruise.
he does look like Tom Cruise.
I'm
in that
seeing
little-
Tom Cruise when he slides through in his drawers with the shirt. What was the
Risky
movie?
Business.
Risky Business.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, he does.
Here,
I don't see it.
you don't see it?
We're just
I
gonna.
see way more Mark Wahlberg than I do Tom Cruise.
I don't know. I see Tom Cruise in this picture over here with his mom. I'm guessing that's his mom.
Well, here, yeah, that's his mom. So I got some more pictures. So this is him with his old lady. And
Okay,
his kid.
well, he definitely went back to being a little chunkier.
Okay, you know what? I see an old Mexican homeboy that I know right there. I mean,
That's definitely in Florida.
yeah, you know, he got a nice tan going on.
And this is a prison picture of him. So I think now there's another big guy at the end there, but I think the picture kind of shows why he probably was popular with him early on and shit. They're just like, oh yeah, you're way bigger than all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, in this picture, like, someone like Vincent D'Onofrio should play him, like, just a bigger white dude.
So now we gotta do the DEFCON scale. So standard DEFCON scale is 5 to 1, 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. By the Bac Guai podcast, there's no good guys. So 5 would be Lee Murray, who's your drug dealing, bank robbing, kidnapper. And at 1, you got the Purple Gang, who's got multiple gang wars, multiple massacres, and they're killing people on the streets. So on a scale of Lee Murray to the Purple Gang, where would you rate John Willis?
I mean, I honestly don't know, because we mentioned it during the podcast that a lot of this shit, we sort of just get the general trajectory of him, but we don't really hear too much about his specific stuff. I mean, on what we hear, I would just say a 5, because we're not hearing a whole lot of violence. We're not hearing him having a violent streak. In fact, we hear a lot of him not wanting to be violent, but at the same time, he was a legit enforcer, and he was in the thick of it, so you know there was some shit that went down. But because, I mean, as much as there is the whole keep your mouth shut omerta thing and the Italian mob, these Asian mafia people, they put that to a whole nother level, so we don't get a whole lot of specifics about what he's done. Like I said, hearing on just what we've heard or whatever would only be like a 5, because he really just was a standard mafia guy and like ran businesses. But just because I know that he definitely had to have gotten to a few machete fights, he had to have gotten into some shit, I'm gonna say 4 kind of by default. I would even say 3, but I don't know, we haven't heard a whole lot about. I'm gonna just say 4. That would be my take.
I got that.
For me, I would go 5, because just like Dan said, there was nothing spoke on what he actually did. But the reason I'm going to give him a 4 is because of the OG move that he pulled on his daughter's birthday and said, hey, I got to go back to Florida. You guys go ahead and take care of the party. And just like you said, there was nothing spoke of what he actually did. There was no violence. There was no murders. There was no, I mean, the robbings of sitting there, hey, you're going to give up that briefcase, or you're going to lose your fucking hand. So obviously he did something, but I give him a 4 out of just respect. But honestly, he's really a 5, but I give him a 4 out of respect.
Like, one thing I agree with that, because yeah, you might have took a couple hands, but it just shows that you're not that guy, that you're willing to give him the choice. Like, look, I got to get paid. I got shit to do. I'm taking this money. How do you want to do this? Because we've covered guys that won't give you the option. They're just taking the fucking hand every time, right? So I think you got a guy that's willing to go the limit, and he's a guy that really never had much of a shot at a lot. So these opportunities mean a lot. And
he went from blanket forts to 5 mansions.
Right. So if you need me to chop this hand off, like, well, I really don't want to, but fuck. And information covering these guys, it's always a lot less information when you're covering people that are still alive. So you look at Lee Murray, you look at this guy, guys that are still in prison, Joey Merlino, who is now back out and shit like that. Like, there's not as much information, because if you talk about that now, it's snitching, because they're still alive or whatever. Versus like Al Capone, that's 100 years ago. You can go ahead and say, yeah, well, he shot this guy on this day. Who gives a fuck? It's all done and everybody's dead, so it doesn't fucking matter, you know?
Well, see, that's the other part that, you got to give him 4 for the respect part, that he actually sat there and came from his family, joined another family, learned that family's game, respected all of that family's rules, got told you can go do what you want to do, and just because he sat there and played their game, they took care of him. Mm-hmm. So, I see a 4 for him. I just do.
And what other thing that he said that was kind of badass is, so, at some point you're probably going to get out of prison. What are your plans? What do you do? And he was like, he said, well, I don't want to be a criminal, but he said, but how do you take a tiger out of the jungle? Like, so yeah, we'll call that a unanimous DEFCON 4.
They're moving in. I say we go to DEFCON 4.
All right, before we go, you guys got anything?
Seeing that now I know this dude's still alive. If I said anything disrespectful, my bad, Holmes. I'm just playing around.
You know, if you need something on his books, I drop $5 on it. Second thing, support your local businesses, support your local people. Love being on the show again. Love to be on the show again.
I appreciate you having you on and shit. And the Jim Miller episode, it was a great episode and shit. Fucking. Well, you guys both like the Cowboys.
You know, and that's the thing. I can sit there. Anything that you pull up for me to come on, I'm more than willing to be down to do it. But the Jim Miller was definitely dope. We sounded amazing. You was alright.
D&D, son. D&D. Back at you.
Look, my research, I stand by that shit like 76%. So it was alright. I'm not writing encyclopedias, I'm telling stories. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. One thing I will say, if your women's listenership goes up, I need a profit.
Like 30%.
I was thinking more 45, but we'll go with 30. I ain't trying to break the bank. I'm just trying to get my little piece. Just trying to wet my beak. That's all.
All right. Well, this is Say Hello to the Bad Guy. Thanks for coming and thanks for listening.